Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff. We're going to talk about The Strangers from 1998. I watched this on Tubi. I had not seen this before. As always, we start with the crew and cast. You can find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes. The film was directed by Sergei and Yuri Ivanov, written by Stephen J. Weller, with effects makeup by Jamie Kelman. I could find no information on Sergei and Yuri Ivanov. This is the only film they ever did. Stephen Weller did more work as a production designer. This was one of his only writing credits. This was one of Jamie Kelman's first jobs in Hollywood. He went on to a long and award-winning career in makeup. He's got more than 100 credits at IMDb and 2 Emmys, one for House and the other for Behind the Candelabra. He's still doing top-notch work, as evidenced by his recent credits on Oppenheimer and Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire in 2023. Or The Mandalorian in 2020, among a lot of others. Cast includes Richard Bent as Trent, Shanna Betts as Ruby, Victoria Hunter as Jade, Jennifer Marks as Pearl, Matt Martin as Angus, and Jimmy Lord as Carson. This was Jennifer Marks' first acting role. She's the only cast member who went on to a decent acting career. Shanna Betts began acting in the late 90s. She has since moved on to a career as writer and director. This is Victoria Hunter's only acting credit. She has more credits as an animator and art department on televised documentaries. This is the only film Richard Bent or Jimmy Lord appeared in. Matt Martin has 2 total acting credits. Please do not watch this movie. This has set a new low bar. I had a tough time researching this movie, and now I know why. So let's get the synopsis out of the way. A couple make out in a dark apartment. He bites her. She grabs a pistol with no bullets in it and runs. He catches up to her and kills her. The whole movie is so dark I can barely make out any details. 1 year later, the man, whose name we now know is Trent, works at a much better lit mountain lodge. 2 waitresses, Ruby and Pearl, flirt with him. In some basement, Angus hooks up nipple clamps and hangs himself in some weird sex thing. The film has me extremely confused. The woman, turns out, wasn't dead from the beginning, and her name is Jade. She shows up in the mountains with a new boy toy, Carson. They threaten Trent, reminding him that the full moon is tomorrow. Ruby seduces Pearl. Oh no. Ruby and Pearl are stepsisters? Gross. Ruby leads Angus into the forest for a date. This is a long, pointless hike to a haunted storm drain. The pair have sex in the storm drain. Back at the truck, something attacks Angus. Maybe Ruby too, I can't tell. Good thing the sheriff tells us that there's a search party going on. We don't see it. Carson spins some backstory about Trent killing Carson's father, and now Trent needs to impregnate Jade so that they can all be immortal. Pearl catches Trent stealing chains. He won't explain why. He hikes to an abandoned house where he thrashes around in pain. Pearl follows him, and then Trent confesses he's a werewolf. He worries he hurt Angus and Ruby. Pearl doesn't buy any of this until the transformation begins. The sheriff finds Angus's blood-covered truck and Angus's body. Still no sign of Ruby. The next day, Pearl tells Trent that they found Angus's body. We hear a deputy throw up when he finds the sheriff's dead body. We don't get to see any of that. We do see Pearl interrupt a threesome between Carson, Jade, and Ruby, where Ruby begs to become like them. Carson then kills Ruby. Pearl finds Trent and tells him everyone is dead. Her dad, her stepmom, everyone. Good thing we did not have to see any of that happen. So Trent didn't kill anyone, but he knows that Carson and Jade are coming for him. I mean, they told him that when they first showed up. Pearl and Trent have sex while they wait. So do Jade and Carson. Jade and Carson find Trent and Pearl. Trent punches Carson so hard his head flies off. Pearl stakes Jade. Trent begs her to stake him as well. Pearl, now covered in blood, screams in mourning when Ruby, now a werewolf herself, shows up to kill Pearl. The merciful end. There are almost no transformations in this movie at all. The only intermittent stage we see for any of the werewolves in this film is some pointy teeth. On top of that, the werewolf makeup is embarrassingly bad. They look more like bats than wolves, with ears almost as big as the rest of their heads. They wear poorly fitted masks with upturned button noses. It is not good. Oh, and it takes 75 minutes of a 90-minute werewolf movie to get to the werewolves. As far as lore, this is extremely confusing. I'll do my best to summarize. They do mention the full moon triggering transformations, and lycanthropy is inflicted upon the cursed. Trent can't remember what he's done in werewolf form, but every other werewolf seems to remember, so who knows? There's no mention of silver, although a wooden stake to the heart kills 2 werewolves, so there's that. And then there's the weird mention of Trent impregnating Jade so werewolves can be immortal that is just unclear and confusing. Are all werewolves going to be immortal? Why? I don't know. Now, one weird thing I noticed about this film is just how much sex and death are tied together. Every violent act is immediately preceded by or connected to a sexual encounter from the opening to the final conflict. Even sex scenes in the movie, not tied to a violent act, lean heavily into taboo desires and kinks. Angus engages in a little autoerotic asphyxiation. Ruby and Pearl engage in a little incest adjacent to lesbianism. It's a common trope in horror movies, particularly slasher flicks, that sex leads to death. But I don't think that's what's going on here. I suspect the filmmakers feel that taboo breaking, including violence, is inherently sexy itself. The sex scenes aren't any more interesting than the werewolf scenes, so it doesn't help the movie's quality. I just felt like I should point it out. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know if there's anything I missed here. And please come back, because next I plan on discussing Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island from 1998. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bolt in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.